What's going on, everybody? This is John Shake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod, as we got some great college football action for you guys here, man. I hope you guys are excited for it. Make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, if you do happen to be brand spanking new to the channel, as well as we are going to jump right into the action here. 8 games on tap here for tonight, and we will start with a game that could very well determine who will have the driver's seat of the ACC Atlantic Division. Delaware going on the road to take on the number 14 team in the nation, South Carolina State. And here we go, getting things officially underway as Carlos McDougal, trying to hit a spin move, actually picks up the first down, except he fumbles it. He fumbles the football, and you absolutely hate to see it, as Carlos McDougal does a great job. He hit that spin move too. It was a nasty spin move for a quarterback, but it's going to be in the hands of Delaware instead, as Blumenthal is going to actually go ahead, run the option, and the option is going to be ran to perfection, and Delaware is going to cash in on the fumble that they got from Carlos McDougal, and Delaware is going to take an early 7-0 lead here in this de facto battle for the Atlantic Division, and a chance to extend that lead even further after a failed opportunity for South Carolina State. So Delaware takes over at the 50-yard line as Blumenthal gonna throw over the middle. He's gonna find his receiver. It's the junior custom player Elijah McCoy, who is able to find that soft spot in the zone. South Carolina State, they are absolutely tremendous on the defensive side of the football, but not showing here early on, as Blumenthal gets some time in the pocket. It's gonna throw to the right-hand side, but it's going to be deflected away, and Quan Hutch, the aforementioned talented sophomore custom player, he's going to be able to intercept not Elijah McCoy, but Kevin Blumenthal. But this was double coverage. Don't know why you're throwing that in double coverage, but it is what it is. South Carolina State will take over, but Jason Saul is almost going to caught up in their own end zone. That would have been a safety if that ended up being caught in the end zone. And Delaware does a really great job initially too of containing that run, but he's able to bounce it to the opposite side of the field, and South Carolina State gets some much needed breathing room. We'll see if they can make something happen on the drive as McDougal looks to the right hand side, trying to throw it downfield. It was 3-on-1, but somehow the one person, the Delaware defender, finds a way to come down with this football. I mean, just an overthrow of the ages right there, and a sloppy game for South Carolina State, as the those turnovers just continue to go ahead and pile up here, as Delaware is going to get themselves yet another fumble recovery. And here comes Delaware Blue Hens. Blumenthal gets it up the middle to the fullback. It will bounce it to the outside, and it's going to be a touchdown for the Blue Hens of Delaware. Make that 14-0. That will end up being your score. And how about a nice job able to bounce that to the outside as well. As we go into the second quarter now, South Carolina with another failed possession. Dawson's going to have to punt this football away and gets it into possibly the dangerous hands of Elijah McCoy. He does, able to go down the sideline. It's a foot race, and we're going to catch him. No, sir. And he is going to go ahead and high step his way into the end zone. That will be a touchdown. And we will also see one of your custom players get a little shaken up. Littlehorn Shepherd, the sophomore linebacker, he does get hurt on special teams duty. So South Carolina State finds itself down 21-0, but before we get into the end of the first half though, Carlos McDougal will get a nice strike down the left-hand sideline, and that will end up being a touchdown that will cut this thing down to 14 points. But can South Carolina State make up the rest of that deficit? They need to play lockdown defense the rest of the game. Blumenthal looks to the right-hand side, and that's exactly what you needed and what you are looking for, as Quan Hutch, the sophomore safety, is going to get not his second interception of the season. Oh no, we're talking about the second interception of the game. He's having a wonderful performance in spite being down by a couple scores. But can Carlos McDougal help down the middle? He's going to find his receiver, Jason Shaw, who was in that Heisman Trophy race conversation, slicing the middle of the defense. That's a first down for the Bulldogs, as they're now in Delaware territory as they look to get more points on board. McDougal looks to the left-hand side, but that's also intercepted. That is actually the sophomore quarterback, Brian Ramsey. He was converted to corner to play some defensive back because Delaware needed some help, and it did come in as a mobile quarterback. And just a great play there by Brian Ramsey, able to make a difference for the Delaware defensive side of football. And now Blumenthal with a chance to extend the lead further, looking over the right-hand side. It's picked off. It's also picked off again, and it's going to be intercepted by Jaquise Johnson. He comes in on the interception party. Third interception that Kevin Blumenthal does end up throwing. Not a good look, but Delaware will hold on to win regardless. 21-7 is going to be your final score, and Delaware, while they haven't done great in the simulated games, whenever we see them in gameplay, they always seem to find a way to get some big-time wins, including that New Hampshire win back in year number 3. And now Delaware is going to be in the driver's seat once again. They're going to control their own destiny in terms of, okay, you got yourself the opportunity to win the Atlantic Division title and play for that automatic qualifier spot that is garnered from the ACC conference. But now we jump into the second game of this episode. Neither team rank in the top 25, but whoever wins this game could end up being in that exact position, as we go ahead and check in on Tennessee State going on the road to take on the Samford Bulldogs, as we're continuing to see conference play heat up around the FCS. Samford is playing their very first conference game of the season, where we actually did end up seeing Tennessee State win their opening conference game as well, as we see Donnie Thomas, who's been having a pretty good year so far, 850 yards, 7 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions thus far, and a big game for both teams. Whoever wins likely getting into the top 25, as Ashton Hines will get things going. He's going to throw one down the right-hand side, and it is an absolutely beautiful football, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, Samford. And the Bulldog faithful are going to be feeling extremely good to start this game, as Ashton Hines gets the protection that he was looking for, and that will be caught for a touchdown. And Ashton Hines will look to keep it going. He's going to try to throw again deep down the field, and it's caught once more. How about Campbell coming through and having a great performance thus far? The Tennessee State defense, serious trouble right now, as Ashton Hines having a brilliant performance to start the game. 5 for 7 for 103 yards. Also got that beautiful passing touchdown as well. But can he finish this drive too? Hines to the right-hand side, throws it up, and it's caught! Touchdown, Samford! And Ashton Hines is absolutely on fire. And as an impact player, that's not what you want to see. Samford going to race out to a 14-0 lead quickly. As we continue through the first half. Now a 17-0 lead. Trying to make it 24-0, but this one, you know, you can't get them all your way. Threw it up in one-on-one coverage. And Brian Massey, sick and tired of being exposed on national television. He's going to get that interception. But we go into the fourth quarter because not a lot happens after the third quarter, or at least after that first half. 19-0. We do see Samford get a safety off screen, but Sante Randolph Jr. is not playing in this game. He is either hurt or suspended. Need to double check and see what happened to him. But we do end up seeing a beautiful forced fumble. We'll see if that finally sparks this Tennessee State offense, who hasn't turned the football over, but Samford's just been having great time just playing fundamental defense, man. You love to see it. So now, Donnie Jacobs trying to drop back the pass. He's facing a ton of pressure, but that's also going to be intercepted going down the sideline. And that will be the first turnover that the Samford defense has forced. And going to be a red zone opportunity for the Bulldogs, as we will once again see St. Thomas come out on the field trying to run out the clock. But, man, at least Tennessee State, they are not going to go down without a fight. That was a beautiful TFL. Provide that defense a little bit of running room. This probably the last play of the game, and it actually does end up being the case. Though not how you expect it to be for Samford. Another touchdown on the board to help extend that lead just a little bit further. And the Samford Bulldogs, they will get to 2-2. So sitting at 500, but some good wins in gameplay. We saw them win against Montana back in, I believe it was week number 2. Now we witnessed that happen. Meanwhile, Tennessee State, they go back down to 2-2 themselves, so they will not be getting into the top 25. But we will be very interested to see what happens to the Samford Bulldogs if they get that top 25 ranking, or will they need to do a little bit more before they are bestowed that opportunity. As we jump into more FCS action, we keep it in the Big Ten Conference as Eastern Kentucky, they will be hosting Jacksonville State, who Jacksonville State Gamecocks have been having a good start to the season. Now with a number 32 national ranking, they get a big test here in conference play, their first game of the conference. The only 2 teams that have not played a conference game yet, as we see both teams coming out on the field. Eastern Kentucky coming with some big momentum as a football program. Of course, they did of course have that FCS playoff appearance as the defending conference champions, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see what Jacksonville State is capable of, though. It says they could be a program on the rise with that 2-0 start. We jump early into the first quarter. Mario Brunner, he's going to be in the backfield, but he will be staying in the block. Looking over the middle of the field. It's going to be caught. We got a man in open space, and that's a first down for Mark McCoy in the Gamecocks offense. Mark McCoy, man, somebody to watch out for, an underrated quarterback here in the Big Ten Conference. He's been doing some good things this year. 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions going into this game. As McCoy will drop back to pass once again, looking over the left-hand side. It does end up being caught. That's Mark Bennett. Was going to get a 32-yard reception. And that was also a touchdown saving tackle there too. But that does mean Jacksonville State does get into the red zone, and they have been perfect in the red zone this season, and it looks like it just might continue here in their 3rd game of the year as Mario Brunner, the sophomore custom, he is going to take the toss play out to the right-hand side, and the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, they will be flashing that scoreboard first, that 7-0 lead. As Eastern Kentucky cannot get anything going early on, but Mario Brunner, he sure can. He gets into the secondary, and another huge gain on the ground. Mario Brunner finding the holes in the defense early, but how about this offensive line really going to town against that Eastern Kentucky front? So another red zone chance here for the Gamecocks, who are now 6 for 6 on the season when coming with some points. Is it 7 for 7? Yes, it is! In traffic! But his receiver comes down with it still as Mike McCoy throws touchdown number 6 of the year. And more importantly, we got ourselves an upset alert. 14-0 now, getting your score late in the first quarter. As Coates looks to answer back here at home. Coates looking over the middle of the field, but that's going to be intercepted too. That's Brian Green. And that's actually his first interception that he will garner in his entire collegiate career. It does eventually lead to a field goal. So a 17-0 lead for Jacksonville State Gamecocks. But why do I show special teams? Because something is about to go down. And that is certainly going to be the case down the sideline. And it is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. And the Colonels get themselves on the board as well. Can Eastern Kentucky get it back down to a 1-possession game before the end of the first half? And how about that for a big-time throw getting it out to, I believe that was Cameron McFarland, who's able to work that sideline. And now here comes the Colonels, looking for a one-score game. Coates, play action. He's going to run for it, makes the defender, trucks him over, and he's going to truck his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. And the number 13 team in all of the land gets it into the end zone. And it's now just a field goal game. Does Jacksonville State have another gear? Second half. Looking, Mario Brunner is going to take the handoff, gets it down to the second level, does get caught from behind. But you want to talk about an impressive performance? We're certainly seeing one from Mario Brunner, who gets it inside the 25-yard line. As we go back to another 1st and 10 following the run. Fullback trying to get involved, but runs into Ryan Spencer, who absolutely lights him up like a Christmas tree. And that's going to be 2nd and 10 instead, so getting behind schedule, but it doesn't matter though. Beautiful throw on a dime. Mark McCoy identified as tight end on a corner. That's a mismatch 10 times out of 10, especially for those jump balls. And Eastern Kentucky back down by 10, but how about the fight by both teams though? Oh my goodness. Did Jacksonville State bring that pressure? I don't know how Coach got rid of that football, let alone complete that pass, but how about the footwork here? 2-on-1 coverage. Doesn't matter. He keeps his focus. And now Eastern Kentucky will have a chance to score. Coates looking to the left-hand side. Throws it up, and it's intercepted. Jacksonville State, their defense is going to hold as Coates gets his second interception tossed in this game. As we check once again at the replay, Coates able to roll to the outside, and surprised he didn't throw that to the front pylon. Thought he had a better option there. Jacksonville State does eventually get another field goal on the board. In Eastern Kentucky, they need another spark. Is this good? Get away from them if they're not careful. How about Clark down the sideline? One man left to beat. He might be able to beat him down the sideline. And we got a certified bad man in special teams as Vaughn cuts it to just a one-score game. And now Coates with a chance to take the lead with a couple minutes left to play in the ball game as McLeod makes the reception. Just a nice little crossing route, and McLeod does the rest of the work. Gets it into scoring range, but 4th down. Field goal's not going to cut it. We're going to try to see if we can see some magic created, and sure enough, it does. Coates getting away from a tackle, and at the last possible moment, throws it up, and thankfully, receiver comes down and makes the catch. Just tough luck here for Jacksonville State, but eventually that coverage was going to break down if you didn't make a tackle soon enough. As now, Coates trying to make this a winning game. Can Eastern Kentucky win the football game? All comes down to a goal line stand. First play, trying to get it out to McLeod. That's incomplete. 2nd and goal from the 3-yard line. They're going to go play action. Looking to the opposite side and wide, butt naked open. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. And unless they find a way to miss the extra points, Eastern Kentucky's going to take the lead. And it comes down to this last minute and 6 seconds. Eastern Kentucky going to go ahead and kick the football away. It's up in the air, and it does look like it's going to be returnable up the field, but it's going to be fumbled. It's fumbled, and Eastern Kentucky is going to recover. I mean, it was a nice job by Jackson on the return, with the exception of, you got to hold on to the football. That's really what it barrels down to. And eventually, Eastern Kentucky, they will march downfield following the fumble and gives themselves a little bit of comfort there. They get the touchdown, they get the extra points, and Eastern Kentucky, they just barely, by the skin of their teeth, they are going to escape with the win to open up conference play within the new look Big Ten Conference. In Jacksonville State, a heartbreaking loss for them. A win would have put them in the top 25, but just simply wasn't meant to be today. very well played performance by both squads. But Eastern Kentucky with that final surge, the Gamecocks are going to lose their first game of the season. So we now go into the game of the week here in week number 6 of the FCS Dynasty. And we got ourselves really the only top 25 matchup that we have here this week. Number 24, Weber State, who is in their last year of NCAA sanctions. They go on the road. They go to the Fargo Dome here in North Dakota State. They're taking on the Bison, ranked number 2 in the country. But we have seen them be a little bit vulnerable thus far in this game, in this series, or at least in this particular season. Seen them barely beat Denver, and the other game that they played, I don't remember off the top of my head, but they barely won that game as well. So we'll see what Weber State can do. We'll see if they can finally get over the hump and beat this North Dakota State squad. But they got to find a way to stop Ken Anderson. He is a certified bad man at the running back position. And we saw why. He took that toss play to a 46-yard rush. He's capable of doing that all day long. As now they line up at the goal line. A few plays later, it's going to be an option. Gets it out to Anderson again, who makes a just absolutely nasty of a spin move. And it will be a touchdown for the Bison. North Dakota State with that 7-0 lead. As E.J. Joseph, he's going to line up under center. No, it's Evelyn Thomas that is going to get the snap. I thought that was 13. That was not the case. Troy McDonald does get shaken up, but we also got a fumble on the play, and it does end up being recovered by the North Dakota State Bison. And they're able to turn that into a couple of field goals, but still relatively close game. And eventually that Weber State offense is got to get going, but we are just not seeing that happen right now, as we see yet another fumble recovery, and the Bison, huge field position that they are going to work with. We'll see if the Bison can punch it in. Purcell off the option once again, gets out to Anderson, breaks one tackle. It's a foot race into the end zone. Touchdown, North Dakota State. Yet another score for the Bison of North Dakota. And now a 20-0 game going into halftime. Desperately need a spark, and that's exactly the opposite of what they were looking for, as Evelyn Thomas throws an interception. We already seen a couple of fumbles, but just led him a little bit too far up the field. And now the Bison with a chance to score. Looking to throw towards the end zone, and ends up being caught. Touchdown, North Dakota State. And just, it's not the most exciting brand of football that the Bison play, that's for sure, but it's scary efficient. Another score for the Bison there. It makes it a 30-plus point lead. This is the game of the week, and Lee Corso, I thought I saw him rock with Weber State, so I don't know if he ended up cursing this team or what's going on with that, but it's certainly not helping the cause whatsoever, as Weber State is looking absolutely lost here on the road, as North Dakota State gets another touchdown in the ground game. Bison offensive line dominating the entire time, and this game was never in question, it turns out. North Dakota State, they get their season high in points scored, and they win this game by a final score of 54-6. Incredible. But now we check in on the team that is currently ranked number 1 in the country. We got Georgia Southern playing host to Nicholls State with some injuries, some very key injuries as well. Their starting quarterback, for example, Frederick McNair, a junior quarterback, has got a lot of experience. He's a third-year starter to this point. He's hurt, so they're going to have to find a way to beat the number 1 team in the country without their starting quarterback, and that is it's not going to be an easy task. It's not going to be an easy task whatsoever, but we'll see if Nicholls State is up to a challenge, or is it going to be like the last game that does end up ultimately being an absolute blowout. We'll go ahead and see, as Ikeda Woods will take the snap under center. The 5'6" quarterback is going to take it to the outside, gets it out to Blake Williams on the outside, gets across the 40, does end up being dragged down eventually But nice decision there by Ikeda Woods to bring him down. Is now 1st and 10 from the 44-yard line as Nicholls State up by a field goal. Blake Williams cannot corral it, and we might have a big boy scoop and score. No, Blake Williams will eventually bring him down from behind, but a fantastic start for the Colonels. And now a chance for them to make it a 2-score lead. Huge opportunity here. We'll see how they attack this drive. It's an option themselves. Quarterback is going to run it up the right-hand side, but it's going to be a scramble for the football, and Georgia Southern, they are also going to recover it. That's what you get when you have a backup quarterback who, frankly, is not meant for an option-style attack. It ends up being still 3-0, so a missed chance here to really get up early on the #1 team in the nation, but it is what it is. We'll see if they can get him off the field here on this 3rd and long as Ikeda drops back over the right-hand side. He's going to throw it downfield, and he's going to find his man somehow. All of that traffic, and still is going to come down with it. So now Georgia Southern threatening to score. Ikeda running out the right-hand side. He's able to get into the open field, and when Ikeda Woods gets into the open field, there is no quarterback that's more dangerous than Ikeda Woods. Just absolutely amazing watching him run with the football, and Georgia Southern will take the lead as Nicholls State finds itself down by 4, but facing a 3rd and long, gonna get it out to Deuce Randolph, the junior, and he finds a way to get into open space and not only get the 1st down, but also get the touchdown. Okay, I see you, Deuce Randolph, able to give his team the lead. Now going to be up by a field goal. Did end up seeing some bad tackling there. That was the cost. Would have been the difference between just a 1st down and a touchdown. And Georgia Southern is down once again as Woods tries to run it out on the perimeter. Does not get it out to Blake Williams and is punished for it. Absolutely taking a massive shot. Is now 3rd and 5. Woods runs the option once again. Gets into open space. Able to jump. Oh, he got tripped up. But that's a huge 1st down for the Eagles of Georgia Southern. As we now got it inside the 35-yard line. Woods under center, going with another option, getting it out to the left-hand side. It's a foot race, and it's a foot race that Ikeda Woods will ultimately win as the senior gets his 2nd rushing touchdown of the afternoon. Just following his blockers, and he's going to do the rest with that amazing leg talent. He's a shorter version of Lamar Jackson. He's got to develop that throwing a little bit for sure, but he is such a weapon. I hope he gets an NFL opportunity. Maybe not a quarterback, but, you know, it has to be in the conversation. Deuce Randolph has to be in the conversation, though, for nasty spin moves. Look at this right here. After he got out of the line of scrimmage, just, ooh, get away from my lemonade. DeAndre Dowdell II eventually came in with the tackle. But now Nicholls State trying to retake the lead under center. Do they run the football once again? They do. It's a fullback dive, but the fullback puts it on the ground, and it's going to be recovered by Georgia Southern once again. Missed opportunities, multiple missed opportunities on the road. This could easily be a 2-possession game in favor of the Colonels, but it hasn't shook out that way. As now Ikeda Woods comes back out onto the field after the fumble. He's going to break away from a defender. And now at this point, it is starting to become the Ikeda Woods show. 3rd rushing touchdown today. Just following those blocks. How about stiff arming a linebacker? That takes some courage. And not a lot of quarterbacks would do that. Ikeda Woods would. But 21-10, that ends up being your score right now. And Nicholls State, they definitely need a spark. On the return, looking downfield, but he's hit hard. And Georgia Southern forces yet another turnover. They just cannot do anything right now. And another short field for the Georgia Southern Eagles. We'll see if Ikeda Woods can make it touchdown number 4. as Woods lines it up under center real quick. We'll see who gets the football this time around. It's going to be a passing play. Woods gets absolutely tattooed, as that is going to be sacked for a sizable loss. Now inside the 5-yard line. Few plays later, Woods going to take it himself, and he will end up taking the touchdown. He's a tough kid. He's a tough kid for sure. Bouncing off of that big hit that he suffered earlier in the drive, and is going to lead his Georgia Southern Eagles in conference play to a 34-10 victory over the short-handed Nicholls State Colonels, as Georgia Southern continues their bid to receiving that #1 seed in the FCS National Tournament. When we get to the end of this regular season, not as dominant that we typically see Georgia Southern, but over 300 yards of rushing on the ground does end up being the ultimate difference maker. Not to mention they won that turnover battle too. So we made it through roughly halfway through the games between simulated games as well as the games that you just saw on gameplay. So let's go ahead and take a look around and see what's happening around the FCS. We start with the number 10 ranked Southern Jaguars, who do get to host Alabama A&M, and it was a surprisingly defensive battle, but Southern pulls it out, winning 19-9 and improving to 3-1 on the year. As for Arkansas Pine Bluff, it was a really good call by the AP voters to keep them in the top 25 in spite of their loss last week, because they proved that they're a top 25 team. They go on the road against Jackson State and blow them out. 41-14 ends up being your final score, and the Golden Lions might be your surprise team here in year number 4. You know, we'll have to monitor their progress throughout the year. As for Utah State, they will remain undefeated on the season after a 10-point victory over San Jose State. The Spartans fall to 1-4 on the year, while Utah State remains 5-0. As for the Akron Zips, they continue to breeze through conference play pretty well as they take on Western Michigan, and the Akron Zips do end up winning 38-28, ends up being your final score as Akron improves to 5-1. SMU also taking care of business in conference play as well, but a tough test against the Towson Tigers. Towson narrowly loses at home, 38-31 being your final score as SMU escapes with a narrow win. But we do also see the New Hampshire Wildcats recover from their astonishingly shocking loss last week, as the New Hampshire Wildcats get back on track, beating Howard by a final score of 49-21 as they look to get themselves back into that first round bye conversation. But as we now seen that sun officially set, we now go to Pack After Dark as we go and check in on one of the better teams in the country, Portland State, number 9 in the nation in spite of no FCS playoff history in this series. They're going to take on a team that has been down horrendous so far, Montana State. They are the only team in the entire conference that is still searching for their first victory of the season so far. So, you know, a little bit of two teams going in different directions. Portland State, of course, kind of a dark horse potentially to win this conference this season. It'll obviously come down to, you know, how they can compete against North Dakota State if they have to go up against them this year. But first, they got to take care of Montana State, and it starts with Maurice Billings down the left-hand side. He's looking for his man. It's going to be intercepted. That is how you start a game. Daryl Thompson understood the assignment, and that is going to get the Portland State sideline and this home stadium absolutely pumped up. And Portland State, already one of the best offenses in the country, number 1 in the nation in total offense. They're averaging almost 500 yards a game, and this is a great play to help reach that 500 yards average. Gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Portland State. And that is going to end up going for a very nice 69 yards. That's a touchdown for Portland State, courtesy of Carl Pierre throwing that pass. And that is exactly how you take advantage of ill-advised turnovers. So Portland State already up 7-0. We'll see if Maurice Billings can bounce back. He's going to look again to the left-hand side, and that's also going to be intercepted. Another turnover for Portland State. Is now the same offense that has all of his yards of offense They get great field position, and they do end up converting it into a field goal, but it's quickly becoming very ugly here for the Montana State Bobcats. Billings simply having no answer so far. He already throws 3 interceptions, and we're still in the first half as Pierre drops back the pass, looks to the right-hand side, throws it up, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, Vikings! And this time, it's the custom recruit, Ryan Otis, in one-on-one coverage. And with that, his big body, his physical presence, that's going to be barbecue chicken. As now 17-0 in favor of the Vikings. Make that 24-0, as that will be yet another turnover for Montana State. 4 turnovers and potentially climbing, because we still have another half of football that still needs to be played. So 24-0 lead here for Montana State. They're off to a phenomenal start as Brown gets absolutely lit up behind the line of scrimmage. They still will pick up a first down eventually as Billings gets it out to the right-hand side. Nice throw and catch there to maybe find a little bit of rhythm finally. We'll see if Montana State can finally get points on the board. As now, backup quarterback's actually going to come into the game. They are tired of Maurice Billings, and I can see why. How about this man with a cannon of an arm? It's going to go for a touchdown. So maybe a little bit of a quarterback situation in Montana State going forward. I mean, this was just a beautiful throw of a lefty. It was just launched that into the sky. And they will go for 2, as we'll see this quarterback throw to the right-hand side. Gonna be an easy throw and catch, and they will be able to successfully garner that 2-point conversion. So Montana State is now on the board. We'll see if they can double dip as they got the ball first to start the second half. But Portland State able to force yet another turnover, as Portland State will now start at about that 35-yard line. Rogers getting yet another interception. Looks like Maurice Billings, after all, might have just been hurt or something, as we saw Kev Stamper was the intended target. Portland State will go ahead and get a field goal on the board, as Billings, running for his life, gets rid of it and does complete the pass. But hang on, he completes the pass. It goes to a different jersey, a Montana State jersey. Minor miracle happening here, as we see Montana State. They actually do have another quarterback in the game. Caleb Ware comes in. He is going to sit in. He might be their third stringer, because we saw a different quarterback throw to football for Montana State that got the touchdown. So a few different quarterbacks coming in. We'll see if Caleb Ware can make a difference in his limited opportunity, but not much better, as this pass will not only be intercepted, that will also be going to the crib, as well as Gerald Thompson is going to get some additional points for the Portland State football team. This one being a defensive touchdown, and quickly becoming out of hand, 37-8, and really seeing the difference between a top 10 football team and a team that's still trying to win their first game of the season. That's actually touched by a Montana State return man. Should have just left it alone. He could not scoop it back up, and Portland State will go ahead and take back over on the 1-yard line. 4 minutes left to play. As this point in the game, we will see Kyle Hardy step in. He's now the backup quarterback, as Carl Pierre has supplanted him as the starter, but going to get some garbage time, getting some limited playing reps to, get prepared for, future opportunities. Portland State's going to dominate this game. 44-8 ends up being your final score. It was never in doubt. In Portland State, they are going to continue to march through the rest of the season, while the Bobcats, they're still desperately searching for that first win of the year. But how about this for a really intriguing matchup? Mississippi Valley State. Now, I know some of my YouTube members have been asking for some Delta Devil action. We finally get a great opportunity to do so. National television. They're going to play host to the number 3 team in college football, Western Carolina. As Catamounts come in number 3 in the country, they whoever wins this game could very well control their own destiny moving forward, as we will go ahead and see both the Delta Devils and the Catamounts come out onto the football field for this primetime matchup. Catamounts gonna have to find a way to stop Marcus Johnson. He's been a paramount difference for the Catamount offense. But first, we'll see the Delta Devils go to work, down 3-0 early, as we're gonna see a massive sack in the backfield. That's gonna be the true freshman Corey Hopkins that is gonna blow things up in the backfield. And now 3rd and 14, looking over the middle of the field. It's gonna be caught. Huge play by the true junior Andrew Berry, who hasn't made a massive impact this season, but that's a big play from your number 1 wide receiver. As Brandon McCoy leads his troops back up to the line of scrimmage. 1st and 10 from the 29-yard line. McCoy dropping back. He's got match protection. Gets it out to the left-hand side. It's caught, and it's going into the end zone. Touchdown, Delta Devils, as Mississippi Valley State with a 29-yard strike. And that will be yet another score. So Mississippi Valley State finds itself in the lead, but can they put together a complete game? Start of the second quarter. Dropping back, it's Campbell. He looks to the right-hand side. It's deflected initially, and then it somehow ends up in the hands of Brian Kahn, the true freshman. You cannot be serious right now. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good, and Jared Cummings certainly got lucky there. But the Catamounts will give themselves the lead, as Mississippi Valley State, they're going to have to score a lot of points in this one if they're going to have a chance to win, because they are not stopping Western Carolina. Let's just keep it 100% real quick. If they're going to win, it's going to be a shootout. But also, Western Carolina having some issues early on as Mississippi Valley State gets down to the red zone. They've been really good in red zone scoring this year, 100% on the season and coming away with points. And we'll see if that continues, as McCoy gonna throw it to the right-hand side and dumps it off to the fullback. Touchdown, Mississippi Valley State. And the Delta Devils are back ahead once more, testing this very young quarterback, Jared Cummings, who does not have a lot of experience at the collegiate level, but he got a ton of weapons to work with. We're certainly seeing that unfold, as it looks like that's one of the running backs out of the backfield. That is Marcus Johnson. That helps gets a huge carry, and then Johnson able to bounce it to the outside later on in the drive. Catamounts will be back up out front, 17-14 now being your score. As later on, jumping into the second half, going in and seeing if Western Carolina can get their biggest lead of the day. They do get the ball first to start this second half, and Brian Kahn is going to once again punish this Delta Devils secondary. Kahn, just with a lot of speed, runs right past him, and Jared Cummings recognized the matchup, did not underthrow him, and now it's 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. Can the goal line defense stand? 1st and goal from the 1. It goes to a fullback dive. And the fullback dive works to perfection. Touchdown, Catamounts. And now 27-14 being your score. It's starting to slip away. Delta Devils, they need a response, and their fullback gets a good run in, but it's put on the ground. Catamounts will recover at a slight price. Brian Taylor gets himself hurt. Looks like he could have injured his shoulder. That could be a very serious injury there. And now the Catamounts will take over. 2nd and 10 from the 31. Looking, Cummings throws upfield, gets it out to the fullback, and the fullback makes some pain for it. Jermaine Cummings really having a coming out party here, and really showing that, hey, he may be the backup quarterback, but I can make plays too. So another red zone chance for the Catamounts as they go to Marcus Johnson on the ground. It's yet another touchdown for the Catamounts, as Western Carolina showing the difference in talent on their depth chart. 34-14 now being your score. And the Delta Devils desperately need a play just to get back into this game. Never mind tying the game or even taking the lead. You need something just to make sure that this game does not become a blowout, and this might be what they're looking for. Andrew Berry down the field, a chance to score, breaks a tackle. Can he bring another tackle? Doesn't need to. Touchdown, Delta Devils, and Andrew Berry comes through in the clutch. Vance Jr. with a huge touchdown against Mississippi Valley State, right back into the game, down by 13. But those turnovers are really starting to become a massive issue, as is offensive line. You saw the graphic, and while Brandon McCoy has not been sacked very much, 14 hurries, man. That's not good. That is not good. You cannot do that against a top 5 team. But we will see Mississippi Valley State get a turnover here, able to pick off Jermaine Cummings thanks to being able to get a deflection off of the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure who initially deflected it, but it will give the Delta Devils a chance to score. They need a touchdown to make this a 1-score game, but they throw it up into traffic, and Patrick Kennedy with a huge interception. It's not the dagger, but you can really feel the air leaving the stadium. And he had a tight end open. That was just generally a bad decision as well. So now Cummings with a chance to put a dagger in the hearts of Delta Devil fans. Cummings to the left-hand side. It's caught down the sideline. He's got some space to scoot. And ladies and gentlemen, I might be hearing that fat lady sing, because that's now going to be inside the 1-yard line here. As that now means Jermaine Cummings, the backup quarterback, with almost 400 yards of total offense here in this football game. He's living up to the billing. As it now starts the fourth quarter and final quarter of action. Cummings looking for one more score, and it's going to be a big-time throw in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Catamounts. Not a lot of room there in the back of the end zone, but found a way to squeeze it in there. And it's now a 20-point lead for the Catamounts. And yeah, I think just now that fat lady is certainly going to be singing, if it's not singing already. Touchdown. Well, not a touchdown, but interception for the Catamounts defense. And yeah, I think it's Barbecue Chicken McCoy with a costly interception that he throws up. And this game is going to be over. Western Carolina, they played against a pretty scrappy Mississippi Valley State team. It was close, but in the second half, Western Carolina, they're able to handle their business. They're able to pull away, and they will still remain undefeated here on the season. Whereas Mississippi Valley State, they actually take their second loss in a row. They did lose last week to Appalachian State, which, by the way, App State, they went winless back in year number 3. So Mississippi Valley State, they still have a lot to play for. Don't get it twisted. But for the final game that we have in this episode, we have a night game out in one of the flyover states in America. We got Southeast Missouri State coming in, number 4 in the country. They will play host to the Eastern Illinois Panthers. This is a matchup between two teams that both made it to the FCS playoffs, but only Southeast Missouri State in this game that we got going on is projected to go back. Eastern Illinois off to that disastrous start, 1-3. They essentially will need to win out if they want to go to the FCS playoffs for the second time in 2 seasons. But beating this number 4 team in the nation, that's going to be a very tall task, and especially trying to stop Travis Johnson. He is a very good quarterback for Southeast Missouri State as he throws that right into the bucket. That's going to be a huge first down early for the Red Hawks of Southeast Missouri State. As we'll see if Travis Johnson can put together a really good drive here early on. Lining up under center. Could be a max protection. It's actually a run up the middle, but the ball is on the ground. And Eastern Illinois is going to get a key fumble. Huge opportunity for the Panthers to start off quick. Linebaum looking to lob one up into the heart of the Red Hawks defense, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, Eastern Illinois. And that is the junior Ralph Rags. Talking about rags to riches. He gets involved early in this game. He's been having a regression of a season here in year number 4, but that time around, able to win in double coverage through it right over the head of Kentrill. And Southeast Missouri State, they are really having turnover issues. Russell Matthews, he's also going to get a fumble recovery too. And don't go away here, guys. We got ourselves an upset alert as Eastern Illinois jumps out to a 10-0 lead. As now, Live Bomb gonna go with the play action, facing tremendous pressure, throws it up, and it's caught. Touchdown, Panthers. What is going on here in Southeast Missouri? 17-0 lead against the number 4 team in the nation. And even though the Redhawks did get more total yards, they look like they've been dominated in that first half. We'll see if the second half is a little bit better, as Marcus Gray does get his first sack of the game. Also his second tackle as well. Really need this defense. That defense that really has been highlighted with this football team to really step up. You can't afford to give up any more scores, and this will help too, as that is bam, bam, Hendricks able to get in there and light up Lombom. And it's now going to be 3rd and 23 after 2 consecutive sacks. We'll see what the Panthers do. Looks like they go with trips to the right-hand side, running back in the backfield. Dropping back. He's got a little bit of time. Throws it downfield. It's in the air. It's caught. How do you give up that many yards on a 3rd and 23? I don't get it. Looks like Kelly Russell was partially responsible for the mishap on defense. This was a 95-yard touchdown. I mean, that was in the air for a long time. And look who else. None other than Ralph Rags with the big-time catch. And now it's 24-3 here. Very surprising score thus far. And we're waiting to see the Redhawks to turn it around. I don't know if that's going to happen in this game. Line bomb looks over the right-hand side. It's caught again. Another touchdown as Kelly Russell could not get over and take that throwing lane away at the last second. And not only is this turning into an upset, it could be a blowout. It might actually be one of the most surprising blowouts that we see in the entire season. Unless Travis Johnson and this offense finally goes to work, this will really help the cause out tremendously, able to get out of bounds, and that will temporarily stop the clock. But no kidding, gotta get a touchdown on the board. There's no way around it. Johnson under center. It's a red zone opportunity. Gonna go with play actions. Got some time. Looks towards the end zone, and it's caught. Looks like Joshua Taylor, the true freshman custom, able to find the end zone. Touchdown, Redhawks. And the lead does get topped down to a few scores temporarily, but that is actually as close as it's going to get. Eastern Illinois, they are going to win the football game. Your Eastern Illinois Panthers, the same Panthers team that lost to Morgan State in week number 1, they pulled the upset on the number 4 team in the entire country. And those Panthers, as unlikely as it is, they keep those FCS playoff hopes just vaguely alive. But like I said, they gotta win out. No kidding. But before we go and check out some stuff in the AP Top 25 or, some other stuff going into week number 7, let's check out some other scores in the FCS real fast. We'll start off in the Sun Belt, where UL Monroe actually is able to score a major blowout, winning by 32 points as they get their second win of the season over in Arkansas State. Meanwhile, the Cardiac Cats continue to live up to that nickname as they went on the road to take on Northwestern State, and the Demons could not be on Demon time, losing by a field goal, keeping Sam Houston State undefeated. As for San Diego State, they had their annual rivalry game over UNLV, and San Diego State wins handily, 49-17 being your final score, keeping them undefeated here in the regular season. However, things were all smooth sailing for the top 25 teams in the late slate, as Eastern Michigan narrowly avoids a disaster, almost losing to Illinois State on the road, but they were able to pull that out with a 4-point win. Texas Southern, meanwhile, started their conference play against the Chattanooga Mocs, who represented the Big 12 Conference back in season number 3. And Texas Southern wins handily 48-14, making the most out of their NCAA sanctions. Meanwhile, Tennessee Martin continues its strong start to the season, now getting to 4-0, scoring a 42-20 victory over the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky. Also looking extremely impressive so far in the early slate is Sacramento State. Sacramento State now going to reach 4-0 after a 37-20 win over fellow conference opponent Idaho State. And finally, to wrap up the games here in week number 6, we got the Kent State Golden Flashes playing host to Western Illinois. Kent State wins that game 38-28 in order to remain in the AP Top 25. So another week concluded here in the FCS Dynasty as we check out the most recent Sports Illustrated magazine. San Diego State getting a lot of love on the front cover, but are we going to see some stuff that reflected in things like the top 25 poll? And of course, we got to see where Southeastern Missouri ended up going because of that big loss that they took at home, as this is what the top 25 is looking at right now. Georgia Southern, North Dakota State, and Western Carolina, that top 3 is the same. Then we start seeing some movement. San Diego State moves up 1. Sacramento State also moves up 1 as well, as does Eastern Michigan, Utah State, Portland State, Southern. Southern moves up 1. They're number 9 in the country, as is Texas Southern, Rice, Eastern Kentucky. All of them move up 1 spot. Then we get to the second half of the AP poll. Sam Houston State, the Cardiac Cats, barely beating Northwestern State. They move up 2 spots. They're number 13. After that, we see Akron, who also moves up a couple of spots. They got that 10-point win over Western Michigan in conference play. But this is where Southeastern Missouri State ends up. They end up number 15 in the country. They will have another top 25 game in the next episode, but they got some things to clean up on both sides of the ball. This was not a championship worthy performance. Meanwhile, SMU moves up 1 spot to 16. New Hampshire now up to number 17 after that 28-point win against Howard. Tennessee Martin, 22-point win against Western Kentucky. They took care of business. Montana, they get the benefit of teams ahead of them losing because they were on bye. Kent State, they beat Western Illinois. That's a 1-point up. Temple up 1. Central Michigan up 1. Arkansas Pine Bluff still chilling in the top 25. They beat Jackson State 41-14. They're now up to number 23 in the entire country. They've only got 2 newcomers to round out the AP Top 25. Eastern Carolina and James Madison, they're both back in. This does mean that we do see a couple of teams drop out. South Carolina State, after their loss to Delaware, they are now out, as is Weber State after a blowout loss themselves to North Dakota State. Other teams that are receiving votes, though, is South Carolina State, Northern Arizona, Southeastern, Weber State, that is the other team that we saw drop out of poll. And then there's also teams like Tennessee Tech, Samford, Western Kentucky, all Big Ten teams that will sort itself out, as is UMass and Jacksonville State, who almost got that upset off Eastern Kentucky, mind you. But right now, this is how the Heisman Watch is currently shaping out. We got a new top 5, right? So in the top 2, we got Jonathan Bauer, the junior redshirt from San Diego State, having a great year. 600 yards, 11 touchdowns. He had 9 catches for 177 in their rivalry game against UNLV in conference play. But Ryan Vaughn, he might certified be him. He has 22 passing touchdowns already, 1,500 yards. He threw for 338 and 5 touchdowns against a helpless UNLV Rebels defense. He is currently a sophomore redshirt as well. Somebody that's also making some waves is Dustin Arnold. He's a true sophomore from Utah State. In his game, he was 10 for 15 with 100 yards passing as well as 50 yards rushing. This is a guy that didn't really start last year for Utah State, but first year as the starter, he's really looking like a breakout candidate here in year number 4. Finally, wrapping up the group, someone that we saw help pull that upset against Southeastern Missouri, Mike Capps. He has 31 catches for 720 yards already, plus he's got those 10 touchdowns. The junior's looking really impressive thus far, but we also have a custom prospect, one of your guys' customs in the Heisman race. Jody Gentry, a true junior from James Madison. He has 500 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns. He is on pace to have one of his best years yet. And this is someone that had 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns last year. He might go ahead and he might make some noise in the Heisman watch. And finally, for the players of the week around the NCAA, someone that might have been forgotten a little bit, Carson Ragsdale. He's the junior quarterback for South Dakota State. He has been having a really nice season so far for the Jackrabbits, although an automatic qualifier is going to be the only way they make the playoffs. He had a really good game against Denver, though. His team won 37-28, and he ends up with 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns to go with it, and then chipped in 87 yards for the ground. So almost 500 yards of total offense from Carson Ragsdale. He was unstoppable against Denver. Meanwhile, on the defensive side of the football, Patrick Kennedy gets named NCAA Player of the Week, and the junior linebacker made a difference on national television. Going on the road against the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State, he did pretty much everything you could ask for from a linebacker. He had 6 tackles, half of which were behind the line of scrimmage. Also got a sack, an interception. He forced a fumble twice and recovered one of those own fumbles. He did everything for Western Carolina as the Catamounts help remain undefeated on the year. So that will wrap up today's episode of the FCS Dynasty as we look towards week number 7. And next week, we're going to have something that has been unprecedented here when we have the full slate of games. All 8 games that we're going to show to you guys are going to be featured on national television according to the game for the very first time. So it's going to be a fun episode. We got some teams to watch out for, including a top 5 game of the week, game of the year implications here in the regular season. So you're not going to want to miss a single thing, guys. But if you enjoyed today's episode of the FCS Dynasty, do me a huge favor, you guys, and smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.